Believe it or not, this position is white to play and win the game. Before I say anything else, if you would like to pause, how do you think white can win this position? Well, if you had a chance to look at that, let me explain where this position came from. This was composed by Janisch, a man from the 1800s who liked to compose these problems where one side would only have a knight and would deliver checkmate on the opponent's king, which was trapped in the corner. And the interesting thing about these types of puzzles is that if we were to take a look at a position like this, where a king and a knight is trying to checkmate the black king, this is the best case scenario. You've got your king controlling these squares, you've got your knight controlling this square, but you don't have any pieces left to attack the king. You can imagine if the knight was here, putting the king in check, well then there's nothing controlling this square. And if you moved your king over here to control these and you put the knight to deliver the check, there's nothing controlling this square. The king would always be able to escape. However, when you give black an extra pawn, you can get a position like this, which is checkmate, because now that open square is taken away by black's own pawn. Okay, so this is kind of a key feature for these puzzles to work. So if we go back to our original position here, the only move for white to win this game is knight to h6, because it does two things. Number one, it keeps the king trapped in the corner, but also equally as important is it stops this pawn from moving, because if that pawn moves forward, the king isn't going to be stuck in the corner anymore. It's going to have lots of options to move to. You need that pawn to stay there. So knight to h6, and now it doesn't matter what black does. Black can push any pawn that they want. You're going to simply take this with your king. You're going to go to f8, and yes, black gets the queen, but not in time, and you deliver the checkmate with the knight. Notice the important pawn there stopping black's king from escaping. Okay? So that's kind of like a warm-up puzzle. I have two more for you that are the same type of theme, but a little bit different. So if you would like to pause, how does white win this position? Well, if you had a chance to look at that, one thing that you'll notice about this position that's different is the king does not have any pawns next to him, right? So he's always going to be able to escape if we try to deliver the checkmate right now. So what do we need to do? We need to force black to push a pawn down to here, because then the king will be trapped. And luckily for us, everything is blockaded. This is actually the only move that black has. We've already got the king stuck in the corner. So what do we need to do? Simply move our king down. And we just wait. And we just wait. And black doesn't want to do this, so they're going to push this pawn. And we just wait. And black's going to push this pawn. And we just wait. And black's going to push this pawn. And we just wait. And now we have forced black to play h2, which they did not want to do. But now that the pawn is here, guess what? We can start thinking about delivering the checkmate. So if you would like to pause, where should we move our knight to? Well, if you had a chance to look at that, we have to deliver the checkmate right here. And so the easiest way for a knight to get to that square is knight to e1, to d3, to f2 checkmate. And it doesn't matter what black does. They can move any pawns that they want. We're just going to go here. They can push this one. They can push a different one. Doesn't matter. We're going to go there. Checkmate. All right. Pretty cool stuff. All right. Let's look at the last one. It's the same theme, but it's slightly more complicated because you have, more options with your knight. What should you play as white to win this position? You had a chance to look at that. There's actually two winning moves. You can win with king to f1, but it takes a little bit longer. The fastest way is knight to e5. And black really has three options here. They can push this pawn, they can move their king, or they can push this pawn. Now, this one, of course, makes no sense, right? Black doesn't want to trap their king in the corner, and this is the easiest option for us. We simply play king to f1. All they can do is push this pawn. We bring our knight around, and we deliver the checkmate. Very straightforward, right? Okay, so let's go back and let's look at what happens after knight to e5 if they push the other pawn. So g5, where do we go now? Well, if you had a chance to look at that, the move is knight to g4. And this is a key move because it does two things. It blocks this pawn. It also takes away this square so that black can't play king to h2. They have to push the pawn again. And you can kind of see the same theme. We're forcing this move so that now black's king is trapped and we can deliver the checkmate. Now, this one is interesting. If you would like to pause, how do we win? You had a chance to look at that. I'm going to guess that some of you guys said king to f1. And you're thinking king to f1 followed by knight to f2 checkmate, right? That's the wrong answer. Why? Because this is a stalemate. Black has no moves. game is a tie. So this one was tricky. You actually had to see this idea of knight to e3. And when the pawn pushes, you play, wait for it, knight to f5 or knight to f1. They both would work. The idea here is that you're not actually checkmating on f2. You're checkmating on g3. Okay, so that one was a little tricky because there was that alternate option there of where you needed to bring your knight to. Okay, and the last option that we didn't look at before is after knight to e5, black could have tried king to h2 instead of pushing this pawn. Sorry, back here, king to h2. But if you would like to pause, this one shouldn't be too difficult. What should we play here? You had a chance to look at that. The move is knight to g4 check, king to h1, and now the simple king to f1. And we're trying to essentially get the same position that we saw before. King goes back to f2, and here we are again. And now black is obligated to push the pawn, and you've seen this one before. Knight to e3, knight to f1 or f5, either one, and then the knight goes to g3 to deliver the checkmate. It's a fascinating theme, right? You take this position where you can never checkmate. You give your opponent an extra piece, and now you can checkmate, right? It's one of the cool things at the end of the game. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and these puzzles. As always, thanks for watching. Stay sharp, play smart, and take care.